A funny childhood memory. Introduction. Childhood memories are like treasures that we carry with us through life. Some memories are sweet, some are adventurous, and some are just plain funny. They remind us of a time when life was simpler, and our biggest worries were about what games to play or what cartoons to watch. Today, I'm going to share with you one of my funniest childhood memories. It's a story that always makes me laugh, even though it happened many years ago. This memory is about an ordinary day that turned into something unforgettable. I hope you enjoy listening to it and that it helps you improve your English listening skills. Let's go back in time to that funny moment. The memory. When I was 6 years old, my world revolved around my toys. I had a wide variety of toys. But there was one that I loved more than anything else, my little red car. This wasn't just any toy car. To me, it was the fastest, coolest car in the whole world. Every day, after school, I would rush home to play with it. My red car had become a part of my daily routine, and I could spend hours creating adventures for it. One sunny afternoon, after finishing my homework, I decided to play with my red car in the living room. My mom was in the kitchen, baking a batch of chocolate chip cookies. The smell of the cookies filled the house, making my mouth water. I remember how warm and inviting the kitchen felt, but I was more interested in my toy car at that moment. I set up an imaginary racetrack on the living room floor, using the edge of the carpet as the starting line. I made all kinds of noises, imitating the sound of a race car engine. My imagination was in full swing, and I didn't notice anything else around me. I was completely lost in my game, pretending that my car was speeding down a racetrack, with me as the driver, focused on winning the race. Suddenly, my mom called out from the kitchen, "Tommy, can you come and help me for a minute?" At first, I didn't want to stop playing, but then I thought about the cookies. I loved helping my mom bake, especially when it meant I could taste the cookie dough. So, I quickly left my red car on the living room floor and rushed to the kitchen. In the kitchen, my mom handed me a big wooden spoon and asked me to stir the cookie dough. I was happy to help, and we started chatting about all sorts of things. My mom told me funny stories about when she was a little girl, and I laughed so hard that I almost dropped the spoon. We were having a great time together, and for a moment, I forgot all about my red car. While I was busy in the kitchen, my dad came home from work. He was in a good mood, as he often was after a long day. My dad had a way of making everyone around him feel happy and relaxed. He walked into the living room, whistling a tune, completely unaware of the toy car that was still sitting on the floor. As my dad stepped into the room, his foot landed right on top of the red car. The next few seconds felt like they happened in slow motion. The car started to slide across the floor, and my dad, trying to keep his balance, began to wobble. It was like watching a scene from a cartoon. His arms were flailing, and his legs were moving in all directions. He looked like he was doing a strange dance, trying not to fall. I heard a loud thud and ran to the living room to see what had happened. When I saw my dad, he was standing in the middle of the room, with one foot on the ground and the other still on the toy car. He had managed to stop himself from falling, but just barely. The look on his face was a mix of surprise and amusement. For a moment, we just looked at each other in silence, and then we both burst out laughing. My dad's laugh was contagious, and soon my mom joined in too. We were all laughing so hard that we had to sit down. My dad kept joking that the car was trying to start a race with him, and that it almost won. After the laughter died down, my dad picked up the red car and handed it to me. "You should be more careful where you leave your car, buddy," he said with a grin. "Next time, I might not be so lucky." From that day on, my dad would always make sure to check the floor for toys before he walked into a room. And every time I played with my red car, I would remember the funny incident and start giggling. My mom and dad would tease me about it, saying that I was the only person they knew who could cause such a commotion with a tiny toy car. As I grew older, the red car became more than just a toy to me. It was a symbol of my childhood, of the fun and laughter that filled our home. I kept it on a shelf in my room, and whenever I looked at it, I would smile and think about that afternoon. Lessons learned. Looking back, that funny incident taught me a few important lessons. First, it showed me how humor can turn any situation into a positive one. My dad could have been upset about almost falling, but instead, he chose to laugh and make it a fun memory for all of us. It's a lesson that has stayed with me, reminding me to find the humor in life's little mishaps. Second, it reminded me of the importance of being careful and aware of my surroundings. After that day, I made sure to put my toys away when I was done playing with them. It was a small lesson in responsibility, but one that has been useful throughout my life. Finally, the incident brought my family closer together. We shared many laughs over the years, but that day was special because it was so unexpected. It was a simple moment, but it became a cherished memory that we still talk about whenever we get together. Expanding the memory. As the days went by, I continued to play with my red car. But now with a new sense of caution. I didn't want to cause another accident, so I always made sure to pick it up after I was done playing. However, the story of my dad slipping on the toy car became a favorite tale in our household. Every time we had guests over, my parents would bring up the incident, much to my embarrassment. They would describe in great detail how my dad nearly fell, and how we all ended up laughing uncontrollably. Our guests would always laugh along, and I would blush, but deep down, I loved that the story brought so much joy to everyone. One day, I decided to create a new game with my red car. I thought it would be fun to make a miniature city on the living room floor. I gathered all sorts of items from around the house, blocks, books, and even some of my mom's kitchen utensils, to create buildings and roads. My red car was the main attraction, of course, zooming through the streets of my imaginary city. As I was building my city, my older sister, Emily, walked into the room. Emily was 4 years older than me, and at the time, she found my games to be a bit childish. But when she saw the elaborate city I had built, even she was impressed. "Wow, Tommy, this looks amazing," she said, kneeling down to get a closer look. "Can I play too?" I was thrilled that Emily wanted to join in. We rarely played together because of our age difference, so this was a special moment for me. I handed her one of my other toy cars and explained the rules of the game. We spent the next hour driving our cars through the city, creating stories and scenarios for the people who lived there. At one point, Emily pretended that her car was a police car, chasing after my red car, which was speeding through the city. We made siren noises and had a blast imagining the wild chase. My mom, hearing the commotion, peeked into the living room and smiled when she saw us playing together. "Dinner will be ready soon," she said. "But you two can keep playing for a little while longer." We continued our game until we were called to the table. During dinner, Emily told our parents all about the city we had built and how much fun we had playing together. My dad, still amused by the memory of nearly slipping on the red car, joked that he was glad the car was causing excitement in the city instead of on the living room floor. After dinner, Emily and I returned to our game. This time, we decided to make the city even bigger. We added more buildings, more cars, and even a few toy people to populate the streets. The city had come to life, and it was the most fun I had ever had with my toys. As bedtime approached, my mom reminded me to clean up the city before going to bed. I hesitated, not wanting to take apart the creation we had spent so much time building. But Emily suggested that we could take a picture of it to remember how it looked. My dad grabbed his camera, and we posed next to our city, proud of our work. The next day, I showed the picture to my friends at school, telling them all about the city Emily and I had built. They were impressed and asked if they could come over to play sometime. I felt like the luckiest kid in the world, having such a great sister and an unforgettable memory. Conclusion. Looking back on that time, I realize how important it is to cherish the simple moments. A funny childhood memory, like the one with my red car, may seem small, but it holds a lot of meaning. It's a reminder of the joy, laughter, and love that filled my home when I was growing up. I'm grateful for those memories and for the lessons they taught me. I hope that this story has brought a smile to your face and that it has helped you practice your English listening skills. Childhood memories are something we all share, no matter where we come from or what language we speak. They connect us and remind us of the universal experiences of growing up. Thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best in your journey of learning English.